those of you who are speaking, we have the front entrance here. There's handheld mics. Everything's good to go. Let's go ahead. So thank you to Jabil, Redisys, and SRS for sponsoring this, but more importantly, showing thought leadership on where things need to go. So what we're going to do, again, this is 11:30 to 5:30. We're going to try and keep it like on the dot, hopefully. And I'll call Tom in just a bit. But what I want to do is introduce sort of the session, but more importantly, Linux Foundation's view of where we are as an industry and what needs to be done to go to that next phase. And then I'll introduce the agenda as well. I think we have heard this in the morning, right? This is a discussion. It's a discussion and call to action for the open industry, open source industry, open networking, open interoperability. We do have some very high profile guests, so thank you all for coming and helping jumpstart this ecosystem. And we are here to facilitate, right? Linux Foundation, as everybody knows, provides that neutral platform for collaboration and partnerships. All right, so I have just one or two slides, but our view of where we are is and we've done this in the core, we've done this in the edge, we're helping with the RAN, but there's always 3 phases to open. There's the first phase, which is not open, it's really closed, but you can interoperate at the box level, right? So the implementation is not available, only vendors can interoperate. You can't certify unless the vendor launches those. And most of it is all standard-based, but it is ran as a full box, right? So we have been there. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But we are moving to this world of what do I call open interfaces, right? With Dr. Choi's, Alex Choi's ORAN Alliance keynote today, we're starting to get partial implementation of open products. Labs are still kind of all over the place. Certification is still not clear. How, is it just the box? Is it the sub boxes, or is it the full solution? But the good news is that's where we are. We are moving to an API-driven, open interoperable interface specification that can be mixed and matched between vendors. Where we need to get to is a full end-to-end open source implementation with some closed source. There's definitely going to be, proprietary software. So I'm not discounting that, but as much as possible, a majority of the open source. And the second part of it is key, which is commercial implementations. So if you again, we've been through that, but what that means is fully open, specifically CUDU. It's quite coordinated and orchestrated, unified, and very strong community, global community that builds this, which gets us the acceleration, the innovation, the security, all of it. And we're talking about everything from sort of the RAN to the edge to the packet core to make it happen. So that's kind of what we are proposing as future state, and we want to make sure that we get to it in the right process and the manner so that it's globally scalable. To give you the example of exactly this path from a container perspective, if you're familiar with the cloud technologies, the hypervisors and containers, right? So hypervisors moved to containers for better portability and things like that. And there was a phase where the vendors packaged a hypervisor or a VM or a virtual machine or a virtual network function into a Docker container and call it cloud native. And I think we want to avoid some of that because we want to get truly to a fully open stack. So that's kind of the setup of where we think in the Linux Foundation we need to go. And we can't go do it alone. We are partnering with pretty much all the SDOs. We are partnering with all the communities, open source communities, right? And leading some of them, hosting some of them, creating code in some of them, integrating code between them, right? So there's a whole method to the madness behind the scenes on how the solutions are getting made. And ultimately, they result in, what we call super blueprints, right? Or 5G super blueprints and things like that. So that's communities. There are open source projects on that. And we're really excited to work with also, obviously, funded initiatives that jumpstart this innovation cycle. Several of you are here to discuss that. So thanks for coming on a short notice, but it'll be really exciting to see how we can collaborate and make sure that things that are done one place can be reused. That's the power of open community and not reinvented. And then, of course, getting to certification, and a lot of research is being put in by the academia. So we're going to pull these ecosystem communities together and make sure that we can go where we want to go. Okay, so that's the very quick setup of what we think we should be doing, and this summit brings it all together, right? So that's kind of what we want to show. All right, so how are we going to do this? We're going to have first. It's the first time that multiple agencies are informing the open source community on what needs to be done. So that's the first part, which is where are we heading? What's the vision? We will have a working lunch. When I say working, nobody's speaking on that other than I'm trying to gather a list of questions from you all on how can we speed up this cycle, right? Like what are the questions we need to ask for creating these open interoperable technologies, right? So that's kind of the working lunch. Then we get into some of the ecosystem innovators that have cool stuff going on, and we'll hear from them. Then we get to the commercial part of it, right? And we go, how do we get a public-private partnership going? We get an update on the Innovation Fund awardees, where they are, what's going on, how far they have come, what are the challenges, how can others get involved. We just want to make sure that we accelerate what needs to be done as an integrated community. And then we get into sort of the NSF initiatives as well as tackling the Next G challenge. So this is where we will have the key leadership answering your questions that I had taken during the lunch, and as you think of more questions. And then we get the logistics after that, RIC forum readout, and then Mike and I will come back at the end and brainstorm how we can jumpstart this commercial ecosystem to yield real results for U.S. government. And as I said, it's not just U.S. government. If we do this right in open source, it benefits the entire globe, right? All our partners everywhere, and we can really make a big difference, okay? Towards 6G standards, before 6G standards, as well as just on 5G. So that's kind of the high-level view of where we are. Tom, if you want to quickly go and take it on from here, it's all yours. Yeah, you can.
Okay, so Tom Rondeau, the Principal Director for Future G from the Department of Defense. So hopefully you all heard me just a short while ago. So I won't belabor too much more, but I did want to give some context to some of my own vision for what's happening today. This is the Open GovCon. I really like the ring of that. I think it's really heralding in a new era of cooperation between these communities, between the U.S. government and our work with industry, with commercial partners in industry, kind of focused around this open source potential for the future. The reason why that's important to us is the speed of innovation. That's what we know we need to maintain. We in the U.S. Have been very good at innovation for a long time. And when we break things open, we see how we can incentivize the research, academic, industry communities to all go faster in developing new areas of technology. Those of you might know me from my past work in GNU Radio. When we did that free and open source software radio platform and commodity hardware to access the spectrum, we really broke open accessing spectrum, and we saw innovation cycling from there. We have Linux, right? The internet runs on Linux. We have Kubernetes. The cloud runs on Kubernetes. We are looking to make the same kind of change in the telecommunications market and make sure that these 6G technologies are accessible and support new innovation and create that speed of thought to practice. Instead of trying to build your own monolithic box to prove out one new innovative idea, that's a lot of time, effort, and money. But if we can share that framework where your innovative ideas can slot into that more effectively and efficiently, that is the productivity level that we want to get to and incentivize that, because that's just good for us. It's good for what we need within the U.S. government. And so you're seeing here today the culmination of a lot of cooperation and collaboration across the U.S. government. But also with a lot of industry partners. So the agenda is really exciting as far as being able to hear from not just me representing the government, but from the rest of our partners across the USG. So this is a really exciting day for us, bringing up industry, bringing up our government, R&D efforts. For all of that, we've got a really exciting agenda. So I really want to thank everybody for joining us. This looks like a good audience. Hopefully there's a lot of conversation, generating a lot of momentum in this area.